From orphanage streets to a garage ceiling, he dreamed of a vast ambition no poverty could extinguish. Discover how a life of endless struggle collided with an unimaginable destiny, leading to an extraordinary ascent. The story begins here. The raw, metallic scent of the city at dawn often mingled with the faint, comforting smell of old paper from the books Rohan would carefully arrange on his rickety stall. It was a humble, worn-out life for a young man barely in his early 20s, a constant scramble to make ends meet. Mornings were for selling, his voice a quiet murmur amidst the bustling streets, hawking stories to strangers. Nights were for studying, hunched over finance textbooks under the dim glow of a single bulb in a cold, dusty garage room that served as his only refuge. There was no proper roof, just the vast, open expanse of the blue-black sky above, dotted with distant, dreaming stars. And as he lay there, exhausted but alive, he would gaze at that infinite canvas, sketching in his mind the boundless scope of his own future. Poverty, a cruel master, could strip him of many things, but it could never steal his dreams. He was, despite everything, profoundly grateful for his life, for every scrap of resilience it had forced him to forge. One thing was certain, a conviction that burned in his gut: he was going to make it big in this brutal, unforgiving world. All he truly had were two unwavering companions, Lucy, a scruffy, loyal stray dog with eyes full of unspoken understanding, and Aditya, his childhood friend, a bond so deep they were emotionally inseparable, partners in every quiet crime against fate. Often, as sleep tried to claim him, Rohan's mind would drift back to the chilling memories of his childhood, days etched not with innocent play, but with unfathomable torture. He had been raised in an orphanage, a place that felt more like a prison. They said his parents had abandoned him when he was a mere 10 days old, a tiny, helpless bundle left at their cold, unfeeling doorstep. From infancy, he was thrust onto the merciless streets, forced to beg for pennies, his small, grubby hands outstretched to an indifferent world. The orphanage manager, a man whose cruelty knew no bounds, would inflict savage beatings, leaving Rohan's small body aching and bruised if his daily earnings fell short of an impossible quota. Every night, the fear of his cane was a cold dread in Rohan's stomach. Then, one desperate, rain-swept night when he was barely 15, a raw, untamed courage surged through him. He simply fled. He ran until his lungs burned, until the orphanage was a distant, fading nightmare. From that night on, he was utterly alone, yet fiercely free. The struggle, however, was far from over. He found grueling labor work in a nearby textile mill, the air thick with cotton dust, the machinery a ceaseless roar. It was there, amidst the clatter and the grime, that Mr. Sharma, the mill owner, a man with kind eyes and a keen sense of observation, noticed something different in Rohan, a spark, an inherent talent yearning to break free. Mr. Sharma, a silent benefactor, took the initiative, offering Rohan not just fair wages, but the priceless gift of education. Rohan seized the opportunity with both hands. After exhausting shifts at the mill, he would devour textbooks, his mind alight with the hunger for knowledge. 7 grueling years later, his perseverance paid off. He passed his 12th grade exams with remarkable distinction. Fueled by his own unshakable determination, he then secured admission to a college for his highly coveted finance studies. And it was within the mill's gritty confines, amidst the shared struggles of daily survival, that he had found Aditya, his steadfast best friend, whose quiet support was an anchor in Rohan's turbulent life. With Herculean effort, Rohan devoured the complex world of finance, eventually passing his exams with an impressive percentage. He borrowed a respectable suit from Mr. Sharma, a gesture that felt like a blessing, and embarked on the daunting quest for a decent job. Mr. Sharma, seeing the raw potential simmering beneath Rohan's humble exterior, had helped him in every possible way, vouching for his character and intellect. Yet, despite his stellar marks, Rohan faced a crushing reality: the doors to the corporate world remained stubbornly shut. His communication and presentation skills, honed in the silence of study and the harshness of the streets, were simply not polished enough for the glittering world of finance. He lacked the suave, the fluency, the confidence that came from privilege. Eventually, after countless rejections that chipped away at his hard-won confidence, he landed a job as a small assistant to a financier at Ekla Apparel, a mega retail garment shop. Though Ekla Apparel itself was a subsidiary of the multi-billion-dollar Veridian Ventures, Rohan's job was purely clerical, a tedious existence of filing, sorting, and basic data entry that painfully mismatched his finance degree and his burgeoning talent. He was easily overlooked, a ghost in the bustling office, his untidy appearance and halting communication skills serving as an invisible barrier. But Rohan was no ordinary fresher. For a mind as sharp and hungry as his, it took mere days to skillfully pick up the ropes, to master the mundane tasks with an almost alarming speed. His direct manager, a lazy, indifferent man named Mr. Gupta, was notorious for his work-shirking attitude, rarely gracing the store with his presence. He quickly found it convenient to burden Rohan with all the real financial work, only to later present it to higher management as his own brilliant accomplishment. Rohan, fresh out of the mill and desperate to hold on to any semblance of stability, hardly protested, swallowing the indignity with a bitter taste in his mouth. Then came the day that changed everything. Buried deep within the endless rows of financial charts and ledgers, Rohan's sharp eyes detected a glaring, catastrophic flaw. A massive discrepancy, a hidden vulnerability that, if unchecked, could plunge the company into a loss of millions of dollars. His blood ran cold. He immediately highlighted this critical error to Mr. Gupta, who, in a fit of arrogant rage, scoffed at him. "What do you know, boy? Stick to your level, don't pretend to understand what's beyond your grasp." Mr. Gupta sneered, his words laced with venom. But Rohan simply couldn't resist. The integrity of the numbers, the sheer scale of the potential damage, gnawed at him. In an impulsive, desperate act, he drafted an email, succinctly detailing the financial lapse, and, with a trembling finger, hit send straight to the CEO of Viridian Ventures. The moment the email left his outbox, a wave of icy dread washed over him. He was instantly back in his senses, consumed by paralyzing fear. He could lose his job, everything he'd fought for, all because of one impulsive, foolish act of defiance. Sleep that night was a cruel stranger. 2 agonizing days crawled by, silent and ominous. Nothing happened. Then, on the 3rd day, the dreaded call came. Mr. Gupta summoned Rohan to his cabin, his face contorted in a mixture of fury and barely concealed terror. "You fool! The CEO himself called about your email." Mr. Gupta hissed, his voice a low, dangerous growl. He mercilessly insulted Rohan, raining down threats to kick him out, not just from the job, but to blacklist him from the industry. The CEO, Mr. Vikram Singhania, had demanded that Mr. Gupta present himself and explain the lapses in detail. Mr. Gupta then turned to Rohan, his voice suddenly sickly sweet, filled with a desperate menace. "You will accompany me. You will explain everything. You will take care of this situation. And if I lose my job, boy, you will be in grave danger. You understand?" The unspoken threat hung heavy in the air. Rohan's heart hammered against his ribs, but a strange defiance ignited within him. He gathered every ounce of courage he possessed, steeling himself for the inevitable. He accompanied his terrified manager to the corporate headquarters of Viridian Ventures. Stepping out of the elevator, he was astonished by the sheer scale of the office, a gleaming, state-of-the-art marvel, sprawling across an entire floor, buzzing with an air of immense power and precision. He felt a surge of paradoxical pride that he was even a microscopic part of such a colossal organization, quickly followed by the suffocating fear that in mere minutes, he could lose it all. Still, he straightened his borrowed jacket, took a deep breath, and followed Mr. Gupta into the CEO's cabin. Mr. Vikram Singhania appeared to be in his late 50s, his presence commanding but not overtly intimidating. His eyes, though strict, held a clear, logical glint, hinting at a grounded, astute mind. He gestured calmly for them to take a seat on the plush leather chairs, a stark contrast to the cheap, wobbly chairs Rohan was used to. He even offered them coffee, his voice polite, utterly devoid of the anger Rohan had anticipated. Then, his gaze, sharp and direct, landed on Rohan. "So, you're the one who sent the email?" Rohan's throat tightened, but he nodded, forcing out a choked, "Yes, sir." Mr. Singhania then turned to Mr. Gupta, his voice still calm, yet with an undeniable edge. "Mr. Gupta, please go through the balance sheet in detail and explain why there was a gap of $10 million. Mr. Gupta visibly crumpled, his eyes darting wildly, utterly confused and clueless. He shot a desperate, silent plea at Rohan, practically instructing him to explain. Rohan, though still trembling with fear, found his voice. He began to explain, his words flowing with an unexpected enthusiasm, detailing each and every minute calculation, meticulously laying bare how a third-party supplier had executed fraudulent calculations, almost costing Viridian Ventures millions. Mr. Singhania listened intently, his expression unreadable, then slowly nodded his head. He simply thanked them, a polite dismissal, and excused himself for another meeting. On the silent way back to his branch, a strange, exhilarating rush coursed through Rohan. He could feel an immense sense of accomplishment, a profound happiness swelling within him. He had been heard. He had made a difference. It was a deep sense of achievement, a validation he had never known. But this powerful surge of happiness was short-lived. The very next day, as Rohan stepped into the familiar, indifferent ambience of the garment outlet, his manager, Mr. Gupta, awaited him, a grim, triumphant look on his face. He handed Rohan a crisp, white envelope. It was a termination letter. It came directly from the CEO's office, Mr. Gupta stated, his voice devoid of any real sympathy. Rohan stood there, utterly shocked and baffled. This was not the outcome he had presumed. The world tilted on its axis. He felt a cold, crushing wave of despair wash over him, extinguishing the glow of yesterday's triumph. Devastated, with the termination letter clutched loosely in his hand, Rohan walked aimlessly through the busy streets, the vibrant city blurring around him. As he passed a dimly lit alley, he was stopped by a beggar. The man's face, though weathered and dirty, sparked a flicker of confusion in Rohan's mind. He had seen him somewhere before, a ghost from a forgotten past, but in his current mental haze, he couldn't quite place him. "I'm Babu," the beggar rasped, his voice rough. "Can't you recognize me? I'm from the orphanage." Suddenly, Rohan's mind cleared. "Oh, Babu. Of course, Babu. How could I forget you? How are you?" Babu's smile was thin, weary. "How can I be? It's the life of a beggar. But you've become a big man. I feel proud, and a little jealous, seeing you." Then Babu leaned in, his voice dropping, adding another layer to Rohan's already overwhelming distress. "After you fled from the orphanage, a very rich, old couple visited. They said their child was lost 25 years ago and they've been searching ever since. They thought the child was dead, but they got a clue it might be in our orphanage. They came to inquire." Babu paused, his eyes gleaming. "Our orphanage manager completely ignored them, but there's a rumor, from his assistant, that it could have been you. He said there's a file from when you were found. There's a golden locket you were wearing." Babu's voice turned calculating. "If you want it, I can steal it and give it to you. But in return, I need some money. $1,000. $1,000. It was an astronomical sum for Rohan, a fortune he didn't possess. But in that moment, consumed by the bewildering events of the day, his mind reeling from the shock of termination and the revelation of his past, he couldn't think logically. He was desperate for answers, for any shred of truth about his origins. He agreed, the words tumbling out before he could truly process them. He went home, his heart heavy, and poured out his soul to Aditya, his dear friend, recounting every agonizing detail of the day. Aditya listened patiently, his steady presence a balm to Rohan's frayed nerves. "Life is tough, man, but we're tougher," Aditya remarked, his voice calm, yet firm. Slowly, Rohan's pounding pulse began to relax. Aditya prepared a simple, comforting dinner, and as the day's exhaustion finally claimed him, Rohan slowly drifted into a restless sleep. That night, the dream came again, not as a vague memory, but with a visceral, haunting clarity. He could feel the warmth of a hug. He realized he was in the lap of his mother. Her scent, her gentle touch, filled him with an aching peace. But then, slowly, agonizingly, the mother placed him down and began to walk away. He shouted desperately, "Ma! Ma!" His voice tore through the dreamscape, raw with infantile terror. But the woman never turned back, her form receding into an endless, crushing void. He woke in a cold sweat, his heart thundering. It was the same desperate, recurring dream he had seen countless times since childhood, a silent scream from a forgotten past. Episode 1 ends here. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss the concluding part.